Lindsay, welcome to the Taste Toast Travel Podcast. I'm very excited to have you. Before we, of course, got in contact, I was like reading your story and just hearing some of your experiences. And you, like me, are a fellow marketer. And so I was just immediately drawn to you just working in that industry as well. So I definitely want to ask you some questions around that. But yeah, you just have such an incredible story. It's so clear. You are such a nomad in the best way. So I'm really excited to hear your story, but I'm excited for listeners to hear your story as well, because I have no doubt they are going to feel very inspired to either live the nomadic life as well, or perhaps make a little career shift and change. I know like a lot of people that listen to this podcast, John and I included, right, are very curious about that process of living and working abroad and in different countries and what that looks like and everything. So lots to dig into. But before we do, I just wanted to welcome you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tara. I'm really excited to be here. I feel like there's a lot of crossover, and
Yeah,
yeah, when I signed up to join to be on your podcast, there's a lot of commonalities here. So I'm
definitely. Yeah, excited to dig into it. Yeah. First, let's just kick it off by telling us just a little bit about yourself. And, this is probably, a lengthy journey, more than we can get into in this limited time together, but just your journey and where you are now and what has led you to where you have landed now.
Yeah, sure. So I am going on 6 years of being nomadic. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. I wasn't sure, that I was going to, I guess, last this long or continue with it as long as I have, but it's just been kind of,
You're
yeah, one of
committed.
those things that like you go on a trip and then it turns into another trip. And,
Uh,
obviously I like to say I've integrated living, working, and traveling, and
yeah.
it's definitely been a learning experience along the way to like make that work.
No,
But
yes.
yeah, for the last 5 years, I basically what I say is I've lived or I've pseudo lived in seven different countries. So meaning
Wow.
anywhere from 1 month to 1 year, I've spent in a country. Like obviously, like I said, working while I'm like living there, and then of course experiencing that city, that country, in my free time. So yeah, it's been primarily in Latin America. Like I've done Central America and South America most recently this past year.
Okay.
And but yeah, before that, I was so there's been a bit of a progression. So I worked in the corporate world, the 9 to 5 structure for many, many years, probably over a decade at least.
Hmm.
And then I think it was 2018 when I leaped into freelancing. So I basically was laid off from a job that I had for about a year. I was actually dealing with a lot of heavy burnout at the time,
Mm.
but I knew that, I knew that I needed to do something different. Like I knew
Yeah.
I needed to switch things up a little bit. And lucky for me at the time, I was living in Florida. I am originally from New York, but I lived for 10 years in Florida. So while I was living there, I want to say about halfway into my time living there was when I made this change to going from, like I said, working a 9 to 5 to freelance.
Okay.
And at the time, I was really lucky. I had several friends that were either marketing agency owners or also freelancing.
That's
So I was
awesome.
exposed to it. I was exposed to the people around me that were already doing some of the things that I knew I wanted to do.
Mhm.
So I was kind of pushed off the ledge. I was, like I said, I was laid off. I was at my wit's end, and I said, you know what? Now's the time. Like
Mhm.
I feel like I don't really have a choice. I'm being pushed in a corner. Like, why don't I give it a try? I'm not going to say it was like an immediate overnight success. Like I did
Yeah.
actually take a part-time job. I was working in a co-working space for close to a year while I was building my business, getting some clients going and things like that. So it took about a year before I felt comfortable enough to freelance and make all my income through freelancing. So then fast forward 2 years, as we know, the pandemic rolled around, and I actually had gone on a very small trip right before the pandemic hit. So it was like actually early February or mid-February when I went on my first trip in a long time. I hadn't traveled for a long time. I actually had a pet at the time, a dog. He was older. I couldn't really travel out of the country as much. I did a lot of, travel within my state for a
Yeah.
long time. So, anyways, I went on this retreat. It was like a 4 day retreat. As soon as I came back, the pandemic hit, and it was like, whoa, like I was processing all of
Oh
this.
my God.
Yeah. So, but like came home from this awesome trip and I was like, wow, like I can't wait to travel again. But then everything was shut down and it was,
The worst
yeah,
timing.
exactly. So I spent like those 9 to 10 months in isolation, like everybody
Uh,
else,
yeah.
but like vision boarding and dreaming of like when I could travel again. And it just kind of hit me. It was like my birthday was rolling around in September, and I was like, I felt like this just sudden urge and like burning desire to kind of take another big leap. Like I took that big leap with freelancing. Now I want to take this big leap with like I was like, I want to travel again, but I don't feel like one thing I should mention was my dog did pass away, like in between
Mm,
time period.
yeah, of
That was like a big thing. He was like one of the main priorities in my life. So
course.
travel, especially like regularly and consistently, was just not doable.
Yeah.
But once he passed away, it was like this hole was there was a hole there. It was like, well, I don't have, it was really sad. I was really upset, of course, but I was like, okay, well, I don't have this huge responsibility now.
Hmm.
And so that's when, this burning desire came of like, now I kind of have the ability to like
Hmm.
travel more frequently.
Yeah.
But I was like, but I want to do it like nomadic style, It was like
Yeah.
the wheels were turning and this idea was forming. And it was like, I just remember this day so clearly. It was like the week of my birthday, I think, when I like went on my Instagram and like made a story or a live, or I don't even remember. And I was just telling all my friends, like, I don't know how this is going to come together, but this is like my dream and I'm going to make it a reality. And
You
I'm
are
going to move
manifesting
out of
it.
my apartment. Yeah.
Oh
To
my
like
God.
travel full time. So I'll just kind of stop there. But that was like, that's leading up to that moment when I made that leap 5+ years ago now.
Oh my God, that's amazing. No, don't stop there. Oh my gosh, now
Okay.
I'm like,
Okay.
wait, what's next? Well, no, I mean,
Unless you have
no,
some
yeah,
specific
let's
questions.
let's
Otherwise, I can continue.
no,
Yeah.
we'll let's continue. I don't want to interrupt you. Like, there's definitely, of course, things I would love to like say, and I will ask,
Sure.
but I don't want to disrupt the
Okay.
flow and the process. Yeah, so
Yeah,
let's
I
keep
always
going.
like sometimes when I'm in these interviews, I'm like, okay, I can like, how do I formulate this? Do
Like
I tell,
compartmentalize kind of what
yeah,
was going
like
on, and
what's happening now? But then, okay, now I got to go back to the past and then kind of go through
yeah,
this timeline, which is what I just did.
yep,
Um, but it was like, yeah, so I made that announcement, and I'm one of those people like I follow through on what I say I'm going to do. Like if I take it to that level, I'm not like just telling one person, I'm telling everybody I'm going to do
yeah,
this. I'm going to do it.
yeah,
And it took courage for me to even get to that point to say it. But I was just like, I don't know what came over me because, one thing I want to mention is, this, I probably for the entire time that I was employed, I lived a very fear-based life when it came
mm,
to like making decisions and following through on like my true desires. It was like
yeah,
I was always kind of clinging to or choosing, oh, well, this job is secure, this paycheck is secure, so I'm going to stay over here, even though I'm being treated like crap, which
mm,
I chose a lot of working environments like that. So I
yeah,
feel like that first leap into the freelancing really kind of gave me the courage, gave me the confidence to then make this second leap because I was like,
yeah,
well, firstly, like I don't have to be here in Florida. I don't have a job tying me here. So that was
right,
like also the logistical piece of it. Like even when I made the decision to go freelance, I and I can of course share more details around that. I don't know if we wanted to kind of go into that a little bit and the travel side of things. But yeah, so yeah, it helped me to also see like what's possible for me and like if I just take the first step, the next one will be revealed. That's like a lot of what I talk about in my own content because I do write about this, like Instagram, and then also I have a Substack now for the last year where I talk about my like stories around this.
yeah,
But yeah, I can get very in my head of like, well then what do I do next? And well, what would I do if this happens? And like my brain was
yeah,
going in different directions. But when it came to make time to make this leap, it was like almost like my brain was like, either I'll figure it out along the way, or I
mhm,
already can kind of map out like okay, all I need to do is sell the things in my apartment,
right.
tell my landlord I'm moving out in 60
Logistics,
days.
like,
Yeah, like I don't need to think about what could go wrong. Just
yeah,
take the first step, which is
yes.
tell my landlord, sell my stuff, and all of the things that all the steps I needed to take to do that were so like it just flowed so naturally. Of course, I was like
Wow.
scared, but I was also like, it was like this exhilaration too. It was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Felt
I'm
so
really doing
aligned.
this.
It's so it sounded looked it was so aligned for you. Like
Yeah.
truly, like I have my little spiritual woo-woo side. And it felt like you're being very like led into this. So how interesting, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's I just want to say kudos to you because that first step is the hardest. Like that is the thing that keeps people from doing these things. That's the step that I think people listening to this podcast, or at least some of them, like need to hear and need to be reminded of, like myself included, right? Like they're even if regardless of like where we are on the spectrum of living like any kind of like more in fear or fear based or whatever, but like regardless, like we just might feel comfortable with stability and a more stable 9 to 5 and that stable paycheck. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I love about your story is like if you feel like you are being led somewhere else, or you just know and feel like when you were saying in your birthday week, like I don't know what came over me, but something was coming over you. Like that's so hard to ignore. And I think a lot of that's where a lot of us like are leaning into this nomad life, this travel life, right? Like we're restless or we feel a little bit kind of angsty with where we are. And we just know that there's more out there for us. And it's beyond just the 2 weeks of vacation that we might
Yeah.
get per year. Yeah. So anyway,
It's,
taking
it's
that
the,
leap
it's
is
the,
amazing.
yeah, I was just wanting to add to that. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it was, we can look at it as black and white, like it's the 9 to 5 job or it's this. And to your points, like, yes, if you find a company whose mission you can get behind, then you feel really good with that company, and maybe they are willing to give you the flexibility and freedom, which I'm happy to see that nowadays. Like that is happening.
Yeah. Thank God.
And I think that's an important note to make, whether wherever you are on the spectrum, if maybe you're full time, maybe you have a side hustle, or maybe you're only full time, or maybe you're only freelance.
Right.
Either way, I think it's important to, even if you're inside of that role, to like express what your standards are, what your expectations are, what your desires
Sure.
are, even because I know people that work remotely for a company and they are also doing this.
Yeah.
They're able to
Yes.
do
Great
this,
point. Hmm.
so it is out there, and that's another thing that I'm wanting to like talk about and even teach people eventually, is like there are so many different ways to do this. It's not like you
Absolutely.
have
You
to do
don't
it
have to
my
be like
way.
entrepreneurial, like create your own business, your own company or whatever. Yeah, there's 100%. Yeah. There's like
Yeah,
happy mediums we can find, and that still gives you maybe the stability, a little more stability that you're looking for, but could take you to some incredible country and
exactly.
doing it somewhere
Just
else. Yeah.
there's a different way to go about it. Like obviously, some people they need to make sure that they're in a country or a place where they have super stable Wi-Fi, that it
Yes.
has a proper workstation for them if they need to be like, let's say, just working from inside their Airbnb. Like I know
Sure.
people like that. Obviously, I have more flexibility. Like I create my own schedule. I can work from a cafe, or I will work from inside my Airbnb if I have client calls.
Hmm.
There have been times where I've had to like my microphone because in some of these countries, like there's people on loudspeakers selling stuff in the street, or like car
Oh,
alarms
it's so
going off.
wild.
Like
It's
most of my
amazing.
clients know that I'm a nomad and I'm abroad, but it's still like can be a little
Yeah,
embarrassing.
you don't want it to be just
You
too
know exactly where
disruptive.
you
Like,
are.
yeah.
So yeah, there's different ways of going about it, but for me, like the biggest thing, even when I started my freelance journey, was I want the freedom to choose,
Yeah.
in any type of situation. Like even with my clients, like I can choose who I want to work with. I can
Yeah,
set the standard of how we work together, and they can agree or not agree, and then maybe we're not a good fit. But you
absolutely.
know, and then obviously how that translates into this lifestyle is I have the freedom to choose to be wherever I want to be. And that
Yeah,
can be a good or bad. Like that's another thing that not necessarily good or bad. I don't like to label things that way, but
sure.
like it can be overwhelming, like when
Yeah.
you have choice.
Definitely. Literal noise or
Yeah.
just like, yeah. Okay, this is actually a perfect segue because one of the things I wanted to ask you, just digging into kind of like the digital nomad life a little bit, and you've kind of answered a little bit of this on both ends of the spectrum, is I wanted to ask you, what are some challenges that you have faced or what has been difficult about it? Just to, be super realistic with what this could look like
Yeah.
for people, but also what you've loved about it. So, of course, clearly the ability to travel, just setting your own schedule, having your own standards, all those beautiful things. Is there anything else on either of those ends of the
Yeah.
spectrum that you would want to touch on there?
I'm glad you're bringing this up because, yeah, this is very real for me right now because I am going into my sixth year. And
Yeah.
as you know, with anything in life, even with my work, like, it's evolved. It's like I have to kind of take assessment of like, where am I evolving? Like, is this what
Hmm.
I really want to keep doing, whether it's in personal, business, life, whatever?
Yeah.
Um, and it's not to say like that I'm done with it at all, but like it might look different for me in this next chapter, whenever that is.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yeah, I mean the sides to this that can weigh on you or something that you really will need to accept if you're like wanting to make this leap
Hmm.
is uncertainty,
Yeah.
but like honestly, uncertainty is a part of anyone's life, whether they're nomadic or not, right?
Yes.
The nomadic life, you're thrusting yourself into uncertainty way more often.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're depending on the nomadic lifestyle you want, like especially in the beginning, like my first year, I was like on the go, like every
Yeah.
month, like not necessarily going to a new country, but like a new city within that country. I was like, I want to explore as much as possible because I didn't know how long I'd be doing this for. I mean, I didn't feel as much urgency as someone does when they only have 2 weeks vacation, right?
Of course.
Like, so with that obviously comes accepting that there's going to be uncertainty. And that means, you could arrive to an Airbnb and it's nothing like what you pictured or saw in the pictures.
Yeah.
You could arrive to a city and like it doesn't pass the vibe
The
check.
vibe's off. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't happen as often because I definitely do my research and like
Yeah.
ask around, go on, Reddit threads or Facebook groups. Like I'm doing a lot of research and I'm talking to people before I arrive somewhere, but
Yeah.
like and then it could be the opposite could be true. You could be thinking, "Oh, I'm not
Pleasantly surprised.
yeah, like, oh, I thought this was going to be a dangerous city. Like that's how it was for me in Medellin, Colombia, and I ended up
Mm,
staying there for 9 months because I liked
yeah.
it so
I've heard
much."
incredible things. I had someone else on the podcast actually who's Colombian.
Yeah,
He's a chef and he was exclaiming about Medellin and he's like, everyone go. Like, so anyway,
yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those interesting cities with vibrant
Very
culture and the people
different.
are
Yeah.
so nice and yeah. But of course, I had some incidences there as well with
Yeah,
that could be deemed negative, with
absolutely.
scamming and
Yeah.
things you need to look out for. So it's those types of things that I would say, but
Hmm.
also like when you zoom out, it's like anything that's happened to me in some of these countries could easily happen to me at home
I
in my
was
backyard.
literally just thinking that.
Yeah,
It's so true. Yeah. So it's just
exactly.
not even the lesser of two evils. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's just, yeah, I mean, we can't let things like that, like potentially like spoil a place or sway us too much, right? And that's where we have to be cautious too. Like I'm totally with you. I also look at, we do your research before going somewhere, but like all of that's so good to know and like kind of keep in the back of your head. But I think what's also great about us who love traveling, it's like we can hear all of that, but then like not get too swayed by it and be like, okay, let me go experience it for myself. Like I need to have my own experience here. And like for if people, had maybe listened to others about Medellin, for example, like you might not go there and you would miss out on 9 months of being there, for example. So yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
and
point.
everybody, not everybody, but so many people ask me when they hear that I went to Colombia or how long I was there. They're like, "Isn't
Yeah.
it dangerous?" And I'm like,
How's
I
about
get it
that?
because it does have that stigma.
Yeah.
And there, of course, are parts of the country that are, but that's like Mexico, where I am now. That's the
Yeah.
United States, even. There are
Right.
definitely very dangerous parts that you want to
Yeah.
avoid.
You just got to
But
know where to
yeah,
avoid.
and I like the research process because I'm also learning about the country, its culture, etc.
Yeah.
on top of that. But yeah, to go back to your question, so the good parts of it, I would say, at least for where I am now, is that or like the where I've arrived after having done this for so long, is
Yeah.
that I like the fact that I can, and this is a term that I use, especially like on my Substack, but like a life by design. Like I
I
can
love that.
truly design my life the way that I want based off of my current preferences or desires, based off of the season or based off of just where I am at the moment. Like
Yeah.
lately, towards the end of the year, I was feeling like just this need for like rest.
Mm.
So I'm in a place right now, like I'm in the Caribbean, where I can just go rest on the beach, like
Amazing.
so grateful because everybody's like, in winter in most parts of the world right now.
Hmm.
But like to just be able to pick up and come to a place like this because I have that ability is like, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
But then to add more examples to that would be like, okay, I'm feeling very social. I want to like go out and build community or find community.
Right.
That might be a little bit seem a little bit more difficult if you don't know how to do that or where to look. But
Hmm.
nowadays, especially like for the parts of the world that I go to, there's WhatsApp groups for everything. There's Facebook groups. You tap into networking events, social events, language exchange events. I actually picked up on a huge passion for Latin dance about 3 years ago. So
Uh-huh.
there's dance communities. This is mainly why I stay in Latin America, and I'm like
Yeah.
getting better at my Spanish too. But yeah, I dance. It's like my biggest passion now. So
I
there's
love
huge
that.
communities around the shared passion of dance that I tap into in
That's
multiple cities
beautiful.
now. I have these small communities of friends that I can go back to at any time. And like there are people there that will remember me. If I've spent at least 3 months in that city, I have friends there.
That's
So
so cool.
yeah, but then there might be times maybe you're a person that, I would consider myself like 50% introvert, 50%
I'm
extrovert. Or
about the same. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So like I said, the other example was I came here because I want to rest, so I can scale back my social interactions with people if I want
Yeah.
to. I can, yeah, if I'm a big foodie, I like to go to cities where there's amazing food. But, there's trade-offs. Like where I am now,
Absolutely.
I'm in Playa del Carmen. I won't say they have the best food here like Mexico City does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But but yeah, that's just to give some examples. Like you can kind of design, it's like designing an itinerary, but it's
Yeah.
more over like a longer period of time. Like I like to say that I'm more of a slow mad now.
Oh, I love
Um,
that. I love that
so I
expression.
tend to go deeper in a country. Like Colombia was the country of this past year, but like Mexico is kind of a country where I come back to. I actually have like temporary residency here now.
Nice. Okay.
And I haven't seen the entire country. It's a huge country, but I've
Yeah.
been to a lot of the different regions
Hmm.
since I started this journey 5 years ago. And then
Amazing.
two other countries I've been to too.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, let's shift into the travel a little bit. And I wanted to ask you really quickly, of the places that you have lived and worked in so far, and you can, if you want to narrow it down to one country, great, but if there's maybe more than one, that's okay too. But is there a country or two that has really stood out to you in terms of one that you have just absolutely loved living and working in? Or maybe one was a little easier to live and work in to be a digital nomad than maybe some other ones that you've experienced?
Yeah, probably Medellin
Yeah.
is, I spent a lot of time there recently. I mean,
Right.
I also like Mexico City. When
Yes,
I
I've
think
heard
of like,
amazing things.
yeah, so when I think of like you're a digital nomad, you are also maybe a freelancer, like
Hmm.
so you want to plug into like other like entrepreneurial communities maybe
Yeah.
that does exist in more of like the cities,
Yeah.
so like right
Yep.
now I'm more like a beachy vibe town, and there is some of that here, but I don't really feel as much of that business minded type of people here.
Yeah.
um, it's 10 times smaller than like Mexico City has, like I don't know, 800
Oh my
million people,
God. Yeah.
so big. But the interesting thing about Mexico City is that, yeah, people think they hear like how high the population is and they think like it's crazier than New York City, but it's actually not. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually
Hmm.
quite spread out,
Yeah, I've heard
and
that.
a lot of green spaces. The food is amazing,
Mm.
good infrastructure, good Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, I never really tapped into too many like entrepreneurial networking events there. But in Medellin, I did. Medellin, that does exist there. They have quite a
Yeah.
bit. They have like a new innovation hub there as well. Like they're really trying to build it up.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so
Wow.
yeah, I would say Medellin has all of that without it feeling like you're in a big city. Like it's a
Yeah.
very jungly vibe type of city.
I love that because I think a lot of people with city, a lot of people might love the city vibe and not miss the greenery so much. But I think that's
Yeah.
what some people can kind of, I definitely struggle with that a little bit. Like, I don't know that I could live in the biggest city, without some of that. And so we have yet to get to Central and South America. It is so high on our list and it's getting higher with all of these conversations that we have. Um, but
The
actually, okay,
affordability there as well. So if
okay, I'm
you're,
I'm so glad you brought that up. Actually, I'm sorry. Finish your thought. I don't want to interrupt you because I was going to
no,
ask
it's
you
okay.
about just affordability and being able
Yeah.
to be a nomad and live because I think what I love about like your expertise and just your experience is like, and one thing I think I saw and when we were first kind of getting to know each other before we hopped on was making sure people know that like you can do this and have this life abroad and it could be more affordable and sustainable than people might think. So yeah, whatever you'd like to share there, I'd love to get your thoughts.
It is, especially if you're an American.
Yeah.
I mean, even some European cities and countries like are even, it's things are changing, like especially since
Yeah.
I started even just 5 years ago. Like, and it's you also have to take into account the currency exchange rates and stuff, which do
Hmm.
shift depending on how strong the dollar is and all that. But yeah, when I said affordability, I was referring to Medellin as being probably one of the most affordable cities that I've visited in the however long I've been doing this.
Hmm.
Again, things are shifting a little bit there too. There is a little bit of a, I won't say dark side, but an unfortunate side to digital nomadism, which is like
Hmm.
in some of these cities, meaning a lot of these people that like move there essentially, like, I don't know if a lot of them are planning to live there forever or just long
Right.
term, or, I don't know all of their visa statuses either. Like, I
For
can't speak for
sure.
that necessarily,
Yeah.
but there is a little bit of that vibe, or I don't know how to exactly explain it, but
Hmm.
not in every city. And it's just kind of some of the more popular ones. But with that comes a rise in pricing.
Hmm.
And it's not just, I'm part of it. I guess a big part of it is probably supply and demand, but then also
Sure.
like the owners of these properties, like, no, okay, look, all these foreigners are coming, all these Americans are coming. We can get more money. Let's jack up the
Yeah.
prices. And also a part of it is probably part responsibility on the people that are traveling there. They need to do their own research as well to know like what are the going rates. Don't get ripped off. Like, you can negotiate, you
Yeah.
can look around, don't settle on the first price, etc.
Right.
I primarily use Airbnb, like especially if I'm landing in a new city and
Hmm.
I don't have contacts there. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a secure way to like to confirm a place to stay.
Yep.
And then when I arrive, like Medellin is like the perfect example because my first trip there, I just went for 2 weeks. I
Hmm.
didn't know what I was gonna if I was gonna like it. I didn't know how safe I was gonna feel. I just wanted to commit to just 2 weeks, and then I was traveling elsewhere. But then I
Yeah.
ended up coming back.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, once I realize that I like the place, if it seems like a place that I could stay for several months, I will work out a deal directly with them
Hmm.
because then you bypass all the Airbnb fees
Yes.
and yeah, you can pay them directly. It can
Right.
get a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little difficult because one, I did have a situation like in Medellin actually where they only wanted me to pay them in cash.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like high amounts of money. They were like, just pay us at the end. And it was like several $100s that I ended up
Hmm.
having to pay them. Not a big deal, but I ended up going to this ATM that scammed me.
Oh,
Long story short, like it
yeah.
said it dispensed the money and it didn't. And then it actually went through to my bank as showing that I took the money out when I didn't. And
Oh, I'm so
I don't really
sorry.
know what ended up happening. Like, my bank refunded me the money, but I don't know if they ended up even getting that money back from them.
Oh,
But that's just one thing is like higher dollar, like higher currency amounts, like you have to be careful taking out at some of these ATMs
Definitely.
abroad. And this was at a bank. It wasn't, I always go into banks. Like if I'm going to take out a high, but anyways, all that to
Right.
say, like you can work out a deal with them directly. And there are apps now that you
Yeah.
can use to transfer.
Much more secure.
There's Wise and then now it's lower fees, I think. So I
Hmm.
do that now instead of cash, but
Yeah. Great point.
but yeah, so that's a way to get around lowering your costs for your housing. And
Hmm.
also a lot of them, like if you can tell them, hey, I want to stay here for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they'll lower it. They'll give you a discount for longer term rentals.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I have more of a like kind of broader question for you as I've been hearing you talk and just like just this whole journey that you have been on and again kind of reflecting back to if someone here listening is maybe has the 9 to 5 and is thinking about leaving or just is maybe having trouble taking a step back from that because they're also like I know definitely like I'm a tried and true millennial and like a lot of us have been very conditioned to be like okay you go to college you get the job out of college maybe you don't necessarily stay in that job and that company for the next like 40 years like my parents were trained to do but like
Yeah.
and they didn't even do that but just it's really hard to break out of that and I think what people's version of success looks like I think there's like just this big collective like what does quote unquote success even mean and look like it like it's very existential some of the things I'm seeing which I'm glad people are reflecting on that and I'm glad people are thinking about that and maybe breaking out of that mold a little bit because it needs to be re-examined I think in some ways because you can do things so differently nowadays and in a good way so just in your experience, like what has all of this taught you? How is, again, like if you want to use the term success or for lack of a better term, just yeah, what has that journey looked like for you and kind of unfolding in all of these
Yeah,
years?
I mean, trust me, I was there for longer than
Yeah.
I've been, working on my own. So
Hmm.
I do come from that mindset as well. And
Yeah.
it's it is challenging. It is
It's
scary, in the
yeah.
beginning. I want to say even for like 1 full year, I felt like I was operating like an imposter syndrome and
Yeah.
scared of my every move. And this was also at a time where I actually was about a year or two into my freelance journey, and I was actually trying to launch something completely different. I was trying to be a coach at this point.
Okay.
And a year later, after trying, I realized it wasn't for me. I realized I was kind of forcing myself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Still had my other work going, like my clients, but I was starting to feel just a little like loss of inspiration doing that. And I thought I would feel a little bit more fulfilled, like working one on one with people.
Yeah.
And so it's like with every leap, with every micro leap, with every pivot or evolution, it's like you're starting over from that first time again.
Yeah.
So
It
you
can be
have
very
to,
intimidating.
yeah, just like you have to be okay with the uncertainty of the travel lifestyle, like
Mhm.
you have to be okay with not just uncertainty in this, but like embracing feeling like a beginner,
Yeah.
embracing feeling like you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you have to kind of show up like you know what you're doing. You
Yeah.
do kind of
Fake
have
it
to
till you
fake the
make it a
funk.
little.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you do because what I found, like there were a lot of like little mindset shifts along the way, like especially when I was trying to be a coach. I was like, we tend to like just when we are in that imposter syndrome or when we are like so worried about things like that,
Yeah.
I realized that I'm focusing on myself too much.
Hmm.
I need to focus on who is it that I'm speaking to? Who is it that I want
Yes.
to help?
Great.
Even with my clients in the work that I've been doing for 7 years now that I still do, I work more with, executives and founders of companies. For whatever reason, I feel more like comfortable marketing and working with them than I did trying to like coach women like me. I don't know why. Like
Oh,
I was just way
interesting.
more scared to put
Yeah.
myself out there. Like this was also the beginning of my journey. And I think because before I went freelance, I was used to reporting to the chief marketing officer or maybe the owner
Right.
founder of the company. So it's like I was already working with them just in a different capacity. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, just embracing being a beginner, embrace being a beginner. Think about who it is that you want to impact
Yeah.
and let putting so much less focus on yourself, how you're being perceived and all of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and also, you know, being okay with being a little bit vulnerable and sharing where you're at. Obviously, you don't want to
Yeah.
just throw it out there. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't want to do that,
Sure.
but you can build in public, is what they like to call it in
Yeah.
some industries, where you're not, don't feel like you have to pedestalize yourself, but like
Yeah.
you can tell your story. And that's a huge thing that's what something I help my clients with. And it's something that I'm a proponent of for myself in my line of work is to tell my story,
Yeah.
whether that's how I work with clients, things that are occurring on a day-to-day basis, or if I'm telling my story, like I am right here on this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, in different ways. And people really value when you can be vulnerable in the right way,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like so because I feel like people want to see the human side. They don't just want to hear about like what you can provide for them and the
Yeah.
solutions you can offer and the things that you can solve for them. Like your story is what really differentiates you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I would say for someone, I'm just kind of taking zooming out here a little bit again too,
Yeah.
for someone that maybe is like in your position, or just someone that is thinking about it but is still very much in that 9 to 5 world,
Mm-hmm.
is start to think about what skills you have that you could basically cut out your employer. Like you're cutting out the
Mm.
middleman. You're saying, I can offer these skills to the public, someone specific, obviously, like
Right.
determining who would be your best fit customer.
Yep.
And, for me, like my marketing skills, I didn't do content marketing when I worked for employers. Like that was something that I just uncovered along the way.
Right.
And eventually I learned how to like package that up and sell it directly to customers. So that's just something to ponder, and then also like see what other people out there are already doing successfully,
Yeah.
and just reflecting on, is this something that I could see myself doing? In the
Yeah.
very beginning for me, that was social media marketing.
Yeah.
That was my very first service that I offered. Like I worked with B2C brands like restaurants and hotels and things like that. And I was able to eventually like package that up and sell it as a service. So
Yeah. That's amazing. That's great. It's great advice. It's like we all have our kind of secret sauce and these things that we're good
exactly.
at. And yeah, I think that's a great point. Like sure, there might be someone here listening who wants to make a complete career shift, right? And in which case, I still think we all have these kind of like transferable skills, if you will, or these things that we have learned along the way. And even if you don't stay in the same industry or whatever, like still not throwing all of that away, right? Like using what you do know. And I love so much what you said, and it is so accurate, right? Like we all have our own stories. And like I said, it's sort of the secret sauce, right? Of because there's lots of consultants out there and lots of coaches and lots of podcasts, right? It's like, but then what makes us different and what makes us worth listening to or worth working with, right? As opposed to someone else. And that's what people, I'm going to say like buy from, right? In terms of marketing speak, I guess here.
Yeah,
And I think now, especially in the age of AI and all the things, like people are craving that connection more than ever. So that's a really important piece to all of this too. So whether it's, getting into digital nomad work and like whether you have clients or just whatever it is, 100% just bringing your most authentic self, right?
exactly.
To the table and
People tend to, and I went through this as well, and that's where the imposter syndrome comes from, but tend to think like, I have to shoot from where I am to here because
yeah.
I have to be on this pedestal. People have to look at me like an expert. People have to look at me as like the best in the field or
Yeah.
whatever. And no, that's not really what it's about. I mean,
Hmm.
there's obviously like, because they're seeing people like it's so hard not to compare yourself to people that are like me. Like I'm 7 years in.
Out
Like
there doing
no,
it,
if you're just
right? Or
starting, don't compare yourself to me, because
yeah. Or already in
everyone
the
has to
country you want to
start
be in.
somewhere.
And yeah,
Yeah, everyone has to start
absolutely.
somewhere on their journey, and unfortunately, you have to embrace the suck in the beginning. Like it's with
Yeah.
I even when I started to learn to dance, like I had never really taken any formal dance training ever in my life. Like I wish I did. I wish I learned when I was a child,
Yeah.
but I had to 3 or 4 years in with that, and now I finally feel comfortable with it. But that first year, I felt like a baby
Not.
bird learning to
Yeah.
fly. And I was in my head. I was comparing myself to professional dancers, and I'm like, what am I
Yeah. Just
doing?
like
Like
what
I
am I?
already,
Yeah,
I
like I
know this already. I
save a
can't
little head
compare
start.
myself.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
wait. As we start to wrap up, I'm so glad you brought up the dance because I actually wanted to bring it back to the dance for a second. And first of all, just hear a little bit more about that. But also, I just love because you alluded to this earlier, right? Like how all of this has been incorporated into your life, right? Where you live, where you work, like you are truly embodying and living all of it. And it's so clear dance is such a big part of that. And it's been so fulfilling to you. And it's not travel or work related. Like it is travel and work related, but not as a part of this conversation. So, like,
Yeah.
just what has that been like for you? And what has that brought to your life? It sounds like a lot of great things.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. It's actually I'm in the city where I first discovered it. So
Oh, full
yeah,
circle
like
moment.
yeah, back in 2023, I think it was, or the end of 2022, I want to say.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know what came over me because I was already
Again.
like, yeah, I was traveling for about 2 years. And I want to say, like, here and there, I tapped into community. Like, I mean, there were times where, like, I found a group of people that were, around my age, and we all, like, got together and we planned some fun, like, group outings and trips and stuff. And then after that trip, you kind of move on and you don't talk to those people anymore.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. But, like, I never really, in the first 2 years, I didn't have that sense of like deeper community and like friendships that I knew I could come back to if I come back to that city, let's say. And
Mhm.
honestly, I don't know if I'd be doing this as long as I have been if I didn't discover dance and the dance communities in these different cities.
Yeah.
So
Saying a lot.
yeah, something just convinced me or like came over me to like, I was here in this city, and honestly, there's not a ton to do here unless, like, of course, going to the beach, going diving, or like boating and stuff. But outside
Right.
of that, there's not a ton of stuff going on here. So something was just like came over me to like look into it. Like, I was like, let me just see if there's like some dance classes around here.
Yeah.
And I found one, and basically, how these things are structured is yeah, you can go and do like formal classes if you want. They do these things where it's like a group class and it's all levels. So even beginners, mostly
Fun.
beginners, to them
Okay.
for an hour. And then after that, it's completely open dancing. And it's like what they call a social. I don't know why it's called a social because you're not really social with people. Like it's called a dance social. And
Yeah.
that's like a universal term. Like even in the States, they have dance. So these Latin dance socials. So
Yeah.
there's a teacher day, and people of all levels obviously are there, so it can be definitely intimidating. I was intimidated. Like I did one class and then got thrust into this event
Oh
where
my God.
guys were coming up to me and like, come on, come dance with me. And I'm like, look, I'm a beginner. Like, don't expect me
They're
to
like,
be
we'll
able to
lead you. It's
follow.
okay.
Exactly. They're like, just follow me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Totally different, totally new concept for me.
Wow.
But after that, I was hooked because not because, like, of course, there's this huge element of fear around that aspect of it, but I just loved the vibe. I loved how warm and welcoming these people were.
Aw.
They didn't judge me because I was a beginner.
Yeah.
From there, like, I just continued to go to these events, take the classes before the social. And then someone told me, hey, like a lot of these teachers here, they offer private lessons if you're interested. And I was like, yes, I am. I was like, because
Yeah.
once I realized I enjoyed it, I was
Uh-huh.
like, I want to gain the
Get
skills.
better. Yeah.
Like this little baby bird on the dance floor, not knowing what I'm doing, like, like it just you learn so much slower. So
Hmm.
if you try to do it that way. So after
Definitely.
fast forward, like a year and a half, I committed to private lessons. I trained with the same teacher for almost an entire year, 2 times a week.
Oh my gosh.
And so by the end of that first year, like I won't say I was professional, but I
You're
was
killing it. Yeah.
9 years ahead of where I was.
Wow.
And yeah, now I make it a point when I go to different communities and countries, like in Colombia, and then I also did 3 months in Peru
Oh,
um, earlier
amazing.
of last year, and I trained with teachers in each of those cities. And it's just
Wow.
so fun because I can just tap into the communities there. If there's studios, I can, hop into some classes there. Or if I find a teacher, I'm like, I want to work with him or
Yeah.
them. I do it. I've done workshops here in this city. I've also joined, like, they have dance challenges where you can join as like a group and you learn a choreography and then you perform it.
So fun. Oh my God. And
Yeah,
if you've never gotten yourself out there, you would have missed all of this, right? So what, be it
exactly.
dance or anyone here listening, right? Like
Now
whatever
I have
your
tons of friends in this
is,
community.
but
We all share
yeah.
that same passion for dancing.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's such a testament to like, yeah, it's very scary and intimidating. And especially if you do have that sort of like 50% or maybe even more kind of introvert in you, like getting yourself out there in dance, no
It's a
less.
completely
But
different experience because you could go to these events and not talk to anyone if you want
yeah,
to. I mean, obviously people are like, hey, do you want to dance with me? And you say yes. But
right.
like if you're there to dance, like in the beginning, I was going out 3 to 4 nights a week dancing.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, I would say hello to people, but like majority of the night, you're just having a conversation through dance. Like you're not actually verbalizing,
Conversing. Yeah.
socializing. So it's like a
Yeah.
completely different experience. It's exercise, it's a
Yep.
form of expression. It's
Yes. It's
like,
cultural. It's so like of
yeah,
where you are.
connection through the body,
Ah,
like
yes.
versus speaking. It's just, I love
All of
it.
it. Wow, what a great way to get so just like grounded and just again even deeper into the culture where you are. And I love that you've done that in other countries too, because like maybe there's been some differences or something, or just the way, even if nothing else, like the way they teach or whatever. So, I mean, so just fun to experience in general, but then to really lean into that and like have that be such a passion. Like that's incredible. Oh my gosh. Lindsay, this has been an amazing conversation. I told you we'd leave feeling inspired, and I do, truly. You've given us a lot to think about, to yeah, just I'm like, okay, what am I gonna go Google first? Like how the heck do I what visas do I need?
You can have, yeah, you can have ChatGPT. I
Yes.
had ChatGPT create me itineraries
Create me a plan that's
or
gonna
like a Nomad guide even.
exactly. Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, this is amazing. I truly appreciate just all of your insight on everything, of course, and just like, traveling and living in other countries, but especially the digital nomad thing. I think that's so interesting. It's not new, of course, but like, I don't know. I'm seeing so much more out there now about like the digital nomad visa and now that that's opening up in more and more places. And so I think it's drawing more people in, or more people are at least like curious about it. So I love that you've been doing this. You're kind of an OG at least for like for a
Yeah.
little while now. So I just loved hearing your input on it and how that's just like evolved for you over the years. But if people want to connect with you or maybe even work with you or just follow along, follow your Substack, where can people find you?
Yeah, so it's funny that you asked because it's not quite formulated yet, but I am thinking about putting an offer out there around helping people like what I said before, create your life by design.
Ah, amazing.
So I do have a separate page for that, which I can
Okay.
give you all the links, but like they're both
Yes,
on
please.
Instagram. So I have my personal one and then the one that I'm creating around this Life by Design community. And then also my Substack is called the Life by Design, and I can also share that link with you. But
Yes.
yeah, expect to receive, if you subscribe, I put out 1 to 2 letters a month. And it
Great.
all kind of ties into that same philosophy around Life by Design.
Just
So
designing your own most amazing, vibrant, gorgeous, expansive life. I love it. Who doesn't want more of that, right? We all need that, no matter where it is. Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been such a fun and enlightening conversation. I'm grateful.
for having me, it's been amazing.